Hi, all. This is Divya. I'm working as an assistant professor, the Department of Biomedical Engineering at Sri Shanmuga College of Engineering and Technology. Today, I would like to discuss about Internet of Things, IoT. So this slide explains Introduction to IoT. So what is meant by IoT? First, IoT stands for Internet of Things. So internet means what that internet connection through it is a communication medium, right? So through internet, the data will be transferred. Okay, what is this things refers? So things refers to the devices which are all connected together to the internet for transmitting the data. So that devices which are connected to the internet is called things here. So that is meant IoT, and which connects the physical devices to the internet, which connects the physical devices to the internet. So physical devices means it can be home appliances, or it can be vehicles, or it can be sensors, or it can be an actuators. Okay, so these are all the physical devices that can be connected to the internet. So this IoT enables, so n number of devices will be connected together to your internet, right? So that devices will be communicate with each other with the help of this IoT. So where we can use this IoT? So we can use this IoT in smart homes. Smart homes means so the automated appliances, where we can use the automated appliances. So in that type of applications, and in healthcare and the industries, so in these places we can use Internet of Things. So definition of IoT. So what is the proper definition of an IoT? IoT is a network of physical objects embedded with sensors, software, and connectivity, right? So the embedded systems, this IoT, which consists of a sensors, which will help to sense the data in the environment. After the data being sensed with the sensors, that should be processed, right? So that will happen in your software. So to connect that sensors and output devices and the software and your controller, so for all those connectivity, you are in need of a connectivity, that is internet, right? So these devices collect and exchange data over the internet. So how these devices will collect the data? So that devices will collect the data and exchange over the internet. So internet is the medium where the devices will exchange or transfer the data. Okay, so it allows devices to operate with minimal human intervention. So for automation purpose, we can go with the IoT. Okay, so that for that automation process, we need only minimal human intervention, right? So that can be done with the help of your IoT. The next thing is block diagram of IoT. So what is the blocks of IoT consist of? The main thing is, so heart of IoT is nothing but internet, right? So through this to this internet, the devices will be connected. The devices will be connected. For example, the sensors, actuators, and microcontrollers. So which will interface with the environment. These sensors will collect the data from the environment, and actuators, so after processing the data, so the output will be given to the environment through these actuators. Okay, so the microcontrollers, so which will process the sensor input, and after processing the input, the output will be given to actuator through the microcontroller. Okay, and the next one is interfaces. So the user can interface through these devices to the internet. Okay, so it can be the user interfaces can be a computer, or it can be a laptop, or it can be a mobile devices. So through these devices the user can interface to the internet. Okay, so next one is the data management and data repositories. So all these things can be connected to the internet. So the data repository means the data can be stored here, right? So that data management should be connected with the internet, and it can be a communication interfaces, or it can be a web applications. So all these things will be connected together through the internet, right? So by connecting these things, so n number of data from all these interfaces can be collected through the by the internet, right? Can be collected and it can be analyzed, and we can store the informations. Lot of informations can be stored, right? So next one is components of IoT system. So IoT system is built using multiple interconnected components. Okay, so how can we build an IoT system? So it can be built by multiple interconnected components. So that components will work together. That components will work together to sense data, and the sensor data can be processed, and that can be transmit over the networks and present useful information to users or trigger actions automatically. So these are all components of IoT systems. So first one is the IoT devices. What we have discussed in the earlier slide, right? That is things. Things means the devices, physical objects which are all connected to the internet for a connectivity purpose or communication purpose. So that objects are called the physical objects. That physical objects are called the things. Okay. So what are all the physical objects might be? So it might be an appliances, or it can be a machine, or it can be a vehicle, or wearables that sends data from the environment, so that, or it can perform actions to the environment. Okay, and the next component is sensors and actuators. So sensors collect environmental data like temperature, motion, or light. Depending upon the sensor what we are used for that particular application, that sensor will collect the environmental data. And what is meant by actuators? So depending upon the output given by the microcontroller, it have to do some physical actions, right? So that action, that digital signal from the microcontroller will be converted into physical action with the help of these actuators. So this actuator is a out is like it have to drive the output device, the driver for the output device. And the next one is embedded processing unit, right? So the sensor can sense the data. That is, the input data will be collected from your sensor, and the output will be given to your environment with the help of this actuator. So in between, there should be a control unit, right? So that control unit can be a microcontroller or microprocessor, so which is called the embedded processing unit. Okay, so these microcontrollers or microprocessors, so that process the sensor data and execute, perform some control operations, and it will give the manage the device operations. Okay, and the next one is connectivity modules. So the n number of devices will be connected, right? So that n number of devices will be connected together to a network by using any one of the connectivity modules like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, cellular networks, or LP-WAN. So these are all connectivity modules. So with the help of this connectivity module, so devices will be connected together. So because of that connectivity, these devices can communicate with each other. And the next one is IoT gateways. So there will be multiple devices, right? Multiple devices will be connected to this. So multiple devices data will be aggregated in your IoT gateways. Okay, so that after aggregating all those data, after collecting all those data, so it performs the protocol translation, and the data should be transmitted to a some storage medium, right? It can be transmitted to cloud or edge platforms. After being collected, all the data will be transmitted to cloud or edge platforms. And the next one is cloud or edge computing. So the cloud platforms, what it actually does, so it stores and analyze large IoT data, right? So multiple devices will be connected, right? So multiple data will be collected in that through this IoT gateways, so that all those large data should be analyzed. So that can be done in your cloud platforms. So edge computing process data near the source to reduce the latency. Okay, so if latency means if there should not be any time delay to process the data, so that can be done with your help of your edge computing. And the next one is user interface and applications. So how the data, how the system, IoT system and the user can interface, so they can interface through the interfacing medium like dashboards, mobile apps, or web interfaces that allow users to monitor data, control devices, and receive alerts. Okay, so how can they monitor the user can customer can use the data? So with the help of this dashboards or mobile phones or any other user interfaces. Okay, so modern IoT system, so which also rely on low power embedded systems. Low power embedded system because it should consume the minimal energy, and as well as it should perform the high performance, to do high performances. IoT, or this is your IoT architecture. So this IoT architecture consists of 4 layers. Okay, so the data can be, first you have to gather data, right? So for that you are in need of a sensor, so that layer is called sensing layer. So for gathering data, the sensing layer will be used. So after gathering data, what the next process will be, so you have to transmit that data. So for that you are in need of a transmit or transport or network layer. For data transmission you are in need of your data network or transport layer. And after transmitting the data, so that information should be processed, right? So that information should be processed, so that information will be processed here. So it is the processing or middleware layer, so where the information will be processed. And after processing the information, so that can be given to your user for applications, right? So that can be given to a smart application. So that layer, final layer, is called your application layer. Okay, so this is your IoT. So the next topic is sensors and actuators. So sensors and actuators allow IoT systems to connect with the physical environment by collecting real world data and carry out actions in response to the system commands. And what is the role of sensors in IoT? So the data should be collected from your environment, right? So how the data can be collected? So with the help of the sensors. So sensors will detect the physical, chemical, or biological parameters from the environment and convert them into digital data. So the data available in your environment will be analog, right? So that should be converted into the digital form with the help of your sensor. So this data acts as the primary input for the IoT system. Actually, the input device here in your IoT is nothing but sensors, right? So that act as a primary input for the IoT systems and used for monitoring, analysis, and automation. So after getting the primary input, that can be used for any other purposes, like can be used for monitoring, analysis, or automation. The next one is type of sensor. So what are all the type of sensors available? So it can be a temperature sensor. So for what purpose we can use temperature sensor? To measure heat, or if there is any temperature changes in your environment, or the things which are connected to your IoT, so that can be done with the help of your temperature sensors. And the next one is image sensors. So what is meant by image sensors? So if you want to capture any visual data for cameras or computer vision applications, so in that places this image sensor can be used. And what is meant by gyro sensors? If you want to detect any angular velocity or orientation of in which orientation the objects, the things which are connected to your internet, or so the in that places these gyro sensors can be used. And the next one is obstacle sensors. So obstacle sensors which is used to identify the presence of any obstacles. So by identifying the presence of obstacles, the collisions can be avoided, right? And the next one is RF sensors. So RF sensor means radio frequency sensors. Radio frequency sensors that can be used for detection, tracking and communication. And the next one is IR sensors. So what is meant by IR sensor? Infrared sensor. So the infrared radiation can be used to detect heat signatures or motion. If you want to detect any motion, that can be done with the help of this IR sensors. And the next one is MQO2 and MQO5 gas sensors. So that can be used to detect the presence of gases or the concentration of gases such as carbon monoxide, methane or smoke, that can be detected with the help of this MQ sensors. And the next one is LDR sensors. So LDR sensor means light dependent sensor. So that can be used to measure the light intensity and brightness levels. And the next one is ultrasonic distance sensors. So this sensor can be used to calculate the distance by emitting the ultrasonic waves and measuring their reflection time. So with the help of this ultrasonic distance sensors, the distance can be calculated in this way. And the next one is role of actuators in IoT systems. So what is the role of actuator? So the actuator will receive control signals from the IoT systems and convert that into physical action. So if you want to control any physical element in your environment, so that can be done by this with the help of this actuator. Okay, they enable automation by performing tasks such as switching devices on or off. For example, if you want to turn on a buzzer, if you want to turn on an LED, if you want to turn on a motor, if you want to turn on a light, so that turn on or off, it can be any switching operation, so that can be performed with the help of these actuators. Or it can be a adjusting mechanical components, so that depending upon the based on the sensor data, so all those things can be done with the help of this actuators. So the next one is applications of IoT. So for what type of applications we can apply our IoT? So we can use IoT in smart homes. So smart home means, so for what we need smart home? For comfort, energy savings and for safety, right? So for these things we are in need of IoT. So by using IoT we can control lighting, that is we can switch on or off lights, or we can increase the intensity of lights, so that can be done automatically with the help of IoT. And for heating purpose, for appliances and security systems, so that can be used in your smart homes with the help of your IoT. And the next one is smart cities. So for managed traffic, waste, street lighting and environmental monitoring to improve the urban living with the help of this IoT. And we can use the IoT in healthcare and wearables. So track health metrics, monitor patients remotely and provide personalized care. We can use IoT. And the next one is an industrial IoT. So IIoT. So optimize factory operations with predictive maintenance, automation and machine to machine communications. And in agriculture, So if you want to control the if you want to monitor soil, crops and irrigation systems to increase yield, you can use IoT and you can reduce the resource waste. Okay, if you want to automate irrigation process, this with the help of this IoT, the humidity level, moisture level of the soil can be measured, and it can be, so depending upon the preset level, the irrigation process can be automated with the help of this IoT. And the next one is in transport and logistics. So if you want to track vehicles, so manage fleets, monitor cargo and optimize delivery routes, so you can go with IoT. Thank you for listening.